hobby of all decades, especially for motorcycles, and specifically Suzuki. A 3-cylinder, 2-stroke, Nice bike, huh? Well, here's mine. Dry-rotted tires, a pretty heavy patina, if that's what you want to call this. After 10 years of this bike sitting, it's time to get it running and back on the road.
Yep. Pretty dang yucky and rusty. Now, if we want this bike to run longer than 1 second... Whoa! I'm gonna have to do the next step, which is pulling the carburetors off the bike and cleaning them. I'm used to cleaning 4 carburetors, so 3 should be a little bit easier, maybe. Airbox seems pretty loose. There's not really much holding it on. I think there's actually supposed to be a couple screws that go into the top there, but they're missing, so that actually makes this easier. I'm just gonna have to loosen up all 3 of the clamps on the airbox boot, and then I think this whole airbox thing should just come off. Loosen that clamp up. Should come right off. Yep. Yep. Oh yeah, there we go, we got it. Spark plug was under the airbox. Interesting. Alright, next up, in order to remove the carburetors, we simply just need to loosen up these clamps. But that wasn't bad at all. Nice. The only thing holding it now is the throttle cable. There's 3 throttle cables. One going to the oil injection pump, which is housed in this little box here. That goes to this double cable deal. But then we have another throttle cable. This would be the push cable. Just a couple 10mm nuts here. Okay, throttle cables are removed. That was pretty easy. And there we go, we've got the carburetors off the bike. The 3 carbs. That is a weird thing to see. I've seen 1, 2, and 4, but this is my first time seeing a rack of 3 carbs. Throttles move pretty smooth, that's a good sign. Alright, it's time to crack into these carburetors. Definitely see some fuel varnish on the bottom of the middle one already. It's to be expected. So these are the drain lines. You can just pull this one off because it's all dry rotted. Don't really need the bowl ones. Yeah, these are just the overflow lines. I never have hoses on these. Alright. Surprisingly, the fuel inlet line is actually not really dry rotted, but I'm still going to put a new one on there because once I fill it up with gas, it could show some cracks. I don't want that with gas already in it. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to put these things in the vise because they don't stand up on their own like most carbs do. Okay, I'm not clamping down on anything, just something to hold them up in the air. Now it is time to pull off these bowls and see what we're working with. Well, it's dry, so that's a good sign. There's not any old fuel in here. It's actually pretty clean. There's just a little bit of varnish in the bottom of that bowl. Dang, I don't even know if these things needed cleaned. Don't look bad at all. I don't hear any fuel in the float. That's good. Float needle looks good too. Everything looks pretty dang clean on these carbs. Well, let's see how the middle one looks. Ooh, number 2 is certainly a little crusty. See the bowl? A lot of crust in there from the gas tank. That's that same stuff that was in the gas tank, and it smells exactly the same too. Hate that old gas smell.
What the dog doing?
Yeah. Oh, yep. Some really old gas in there. We're gonna have to dump that out. Let's see how number 3 looks. Or number 1, I don't really know which one's which. Ooh, yep. Number 3 or 1 is looking the same as number 2. So yeah, these carburetors definitely did need cleaned. But I don't think anything's gonna need to be replaced. All the gaskets look good. This gasket's good. I think these just need a good clean out. Yeah, we gotta get rid of this old crummy gas. It's just a little bit of old gas. This is how I'm getting rid of it today. And it's not even flammable anymore. Alright, now it's time to clean this freaking varnish out of these carburetor bowls. This stuff is thick, this stuff is chunky, and it's gotta go. So first, gonna fill them all up with some carburetor cleaner. This is stuff I use. I just get whatever's cheapest. It's all the same. I used to not wear gloves when doing this, and now I have like chronic dry hands, and whenever it's cold out, my hands hurt. And I think it might be from all this stuff. So wear gloves when you're messing with carburetor cleaner, guys. Just gonna let that soak in there for a bit. In the meantime, I'm gonna clean the actual carburetors themselves. Get some carburetor cleaner. Then I've got a brass brush. I'm gonna make sure to use a brass brush, not steel, because steel brushes will scratch the aluminum carburetor bodies. And I'm just gently going over, getting all that crazy varnish off. Well, this clamp is loose. I don't know if that this actually has to be like an airtight seal, but it's certainly loose. Oh, I just noticed there's actually 2 grease fittings on throttle slide assembly. That is crazy. I've never seen that before. I guess that's for keeping the throttle slides lubricated so that everything moves easy. That's kind of cool, actually. Okay, that's all the outside cleaning I'm gonna do. Now that these carburetor bowls have been soaking for a while, I'm gonna take my brass brush and go into the inside, scrub around, and try to get that varnish lifted up. Okay, one more soak and then one other scrub, and they should be all good to go. Now, all the airbox components need cleaned up, especially this cover. As you can see, there's a feather on it. It was trying to just grow wings and fly away. So it was just so sad being on that bike, sitting in the garage for like 10 years without running. So I've got a bucket of soapy water here. Let's give everything a nice dunk. Clean it off with a little plastic brush. Now it's time to disassemble these carburetors and actually give them the cleaning that they deserve. First, I'm going to try to remove the floats. That one came out easy too. 2 floats, and this one's dented in significantly. There we go. It's just a little stuck in there. Then main jets, which are pretty dang clogged. Can't see any light through there at all. Oh, almost forgot the fuel needle. This is where fuel enters the carburetor, so oftentimes this is where a ton of gunk will collect. That one was stuck in there with varnish. And then there's just one thing left, and that is the idle jets, which are down in these little posts here. These are sometimes really hard to get out. You gotta be careful with them. So we wanna find the biggest screwdriver that I can fit in there without damaging anything. I actually made a custom screwdriver for this exact purpose, and it should be just the right size. Yep. Okay, number one was nice and loose, came out easy. The second you round out the head of this jet, it's done. You're over. So don't do that. I've done that before. There's one. It has a 25 stamped on it, so this is a number 25 idle jet. And the main jets, can't really read it, but it looks like it says 115. There's the second pilot jet, going good. Third one, let's see. Yup. Cracked loose. There we go. Interesting. Something I just noticed is that the choke only works on 2 of these carburetors. Only 2 of the carbs have the choke rod attached. That's really weird. Wonder why not all 3 of them have this choke rod. This carburetor body doesn't even have a spot for the choke rod, so I guess you only need to choke 2 of them on these 3-cylinder 2-strokes. Interesting. If anyone's had a Kawasaki 3-cylinder 2-stroke, let me know if they are the same as that, because that is weird. Okay, next I'm going to use some more carb cleaner and also some compressed air to spray out each one of the carburetor passageways and make sure everything is clear before we reassemble these guys. Starting off with this air hole on the engine side. Once again, let's try to get some compressed air through that hole. Still hot. Okay, well that means we're gonna have to pull the fuel line off. I was gonna replace the fuel line anyways. This guy's pretty stuck on, isn't it? Okay, there's the fuel line. You can see some gunk in the fuel line. It's all stuff from the gas tank because the petcock filter screen was gone. As you can see, all that gunk just went down into the carburetor, and it looks like it made its first stop at number 2 carburetor and then just plugged everything up from there. Alright, let's try to spray this way again. Oh, we just cleared it. Okay, now we're going to clean off the floats, which is pretty easy. Light brushing. I'm used to plastic floats. Seeing these old brass floats is pretty cool. Another spray. Spray off these fuel needle valves. Want to make sure these are nice and clean so they don't get stuck. Next we have the main jet. This one's good and clear. Just make sure it's really good and clear. And then just look through it If you can see light through it, like this one, you're good to go. Go main jets first. Before we close these guys up, we need to check one little thing. That is the float height. I found the service manual, and I'll include a link to my video description where you can download this. There's a standard height. It says 24.25 millimeters, but that is with the gasket. So since I don't have the gasket on here, it's stuck to the bowl, as you can see. First, we're gonna measure the width of this gasket, which is 0.7 millimeter. So add that to 24.25, and that gives me 24.95 millimeters. This only goes in tenths of increments, so we're going to do 24.9, and let's go ahead and check it. Then the other thing we want to check is the air screw adjustment. Standard setting shows it at 1 1/4 turns out. Opening is leaner, in is richer. So let's check what these are set at. Air screw is right here. Let's turn it in and count the number of turns. 1/2, 1, 1, 1 1/2, 1 3/4. Okay, so we're gonna set these back to factory setting. We'll go 1/2, 1, 1 1/4. All right, now we can close these guys up. Now we just need a fuel filter, and these carbs will be ready to go back on the bike. So that's gonna finish up the carburetor cleaning video. I know I did this cleaning the easy way, but I think that is all the necessary steps you need to take to get your GT550 carburetors cleaned up and running good. Stay tuned for the next video to see me put these carbs back on the bike and start the bike up and see how she runs. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.